Hello everyone. Uh, in this video I'm going to walk you through the detail editing interface. The detail editing interface is a system that allows you to make modifications to the shape of your avatar. This is provided as a means of both adding details which are difficult to recover from the facial photo, as well as enabling you to exaggerate and kind of have fun with your avatar. So you'll notice I've rotated the avatar to a profile view. If you want, you can upload a profile image, but I don't necessarily have one at this point. So here's my image, here's my avatar, and here's a series of slide bars which will load upon activation modifications to the avatar shape. So let's have a look at my nose, which is definitely not that petite little nose. So for the nose, we've got several different controls. We've got just an overall nose large, which can be used to grow the entire shape of the nose, as you can see there. And then likewise, there's the inverse, nose small, which reduces the shape of the size of the nose. And if we want, and then it's broken into several different pieces where there's nose high out, which gives you a bump at the top of the bridge of your nose. And then nose high in is the opposite. Nose mid out is more of a general flattening of the overall bridge of the nose. So that's about the shape of my nose, and a slight bump near the top is what I tend to have in my nose. And then likewise, my mouth is pretty much correct, but my chin is not that pronounced. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit, and that is more accurate to the shape of my chin. Now, there's other forehead, brow, and other controls, but the avatar came out pretty close to what my brow shape is. So now I'll proceed to the details series of adjustments. And the reason I'm keeping it in a profile view is one of the first things I want to adjust is what's called Asian eyelids. Asian eyelids serves two separate purposes. As I zoom on my eye area, watch what happens when I modify that slide bar. Loading, and there we go. Okay, so you can see what it's doing. It's essentially adjusting the fold above your eyelid. And it does a very slight adjustment to the shape of the eyes, but the shape of the eyes is primarily contained in your source photo. So what this is doing is, it's pulling the flesh under my eyebrow down over my eyelid. And what the result of that is it tends to create eyelid shapes that you see as people get older. Pretty much the way that the reconstruction engine constructs a person's eyelids and eye sockets is an ideal human form. But as we can see in my source photo over here, I'm older, and so the skin above my eyelid has begun to collapse over my eyelid. And that's extremely common. Basically, anybody over the age of 40 tends to have that. And so that's about where my eyelid fold lands. And then likewise, we've got a tired eyes. Tired eyes, as you notice beneath, it's basically the bags under your eyes. So we've got two different versions here. This is a higher bag under your eye, which tends to be visible in people who are not that tired or people who are young. And then older tired eyes is lower down. As you can see, that's adjusting the bag under my eyes lower. And I do have bags under my eyes, and so that is really about the shape of my sad-looking eyes. But okay, rather than get into that type of detail, let's look a little bit closer. I have slightly higher cheekbones than what the reconstruction engine generated. So you can see I can, adjust my cheekbones up and down. You want to be a little careful with this because as you rotate sideways, you can kind of see that cheekbone. It definitely bulges out, and so generally I tend to use this very sparingly. And likewise, you've got big cheeks. If you're a heavier person, this can be used to give you, more fuller cheeks. And the smile lines. You can see I do have creases in my face from, probably smiling too much. So I'm going to just impress this pretty much at its maximum. And what that does is, from this view here, watch that edge right there. This adjusts that smile curve. You can see the texture moving there. And so what that's essentially doing is it's making an impression where the smile lines on a person land. And so it's going to generate a more correct mouth shape, or not necessarily the mouth right here, but the larger mouth, this entire area pretty much under the nose. Okay, and then I don't have a double chin, gaunt. I do have a square jaw, so we'll pull this out just a little bit. The reconstruction engine did a pretty good job, so I can make it a little bit fuller. That looks about right. And then I do have a cleft in my chin, so we'll just impress that. Wait for it to load, and there we go. You can see the chin cleft kind of moving in and out with that slide bar. And then we have the distortion. Now, the distortion detailed morphs, they provide one critical function as well as some entertaining functions. The critical function they provide is this head wider. Now, the reason I say this is a critical function is because if you've supplied a selfie or the subject in the photo has any perspective distortion, perspective distortion is caused by having the camera too close, which is going to make your nose seem large, your ears seem small, and it generally creates a distorted image. Humans are really good at ignoring perspective distortion when you look at a photograph, but there's no way for our software supplied with a single photograph to reverse the perspective distortion. So this head wider slide bar basically allows you to add about, whatever percentage you want. You can go very wide if you want, but I generally find people who supply a selfie style photograph, if you just pull this up about 5%, 5 to 10%, that generally tends to correct the width of your face, of your head. And then likewise, these other controls, they allow for an exaggerated head shape. So you may have noticed on the home page of the website, there's a exaggerated mad scientist avatar of me. That was created with settings pretty much just like this, where I expanded the top of my head, I squeezed the head a little bit, and I think that was pretty much what I did. Maybe not quite so exaggerated like that, but that's my mad scientist look. Maybe exaggerate a little bit more, and there's my big brain mad scientist look. but of course that's not what we're creating today. So I'll take these back down to give me a more realistic shape, and that's pretty much it. So at this point, I hit Save and Bake Details, and it will take me to the eye interface, and then from there, the eye color interface, and from there you're at Avatar Home. So pretty much this is the final interface that allows you to make distortions and shape changes to your avatar. And once you save and bake, you can always unbake and come back, but you can't go back to the annotation points. So for the moment, this is the final interface to make modifications to your avatar's overall skull shape. And that's it. We're baking.